All right. Welcome back in. Coach Mark Gottfried on the Front Row Podcast. And today I've got a phenomenal guest, and we're going to kind of chop it up and go over his journey. And as I've done in the past, I've always had some amazing, high-achieving people that have just done really well in life. And today's guest is Jermaine Dye, played 14 years in the bigs, baseball player, Atlanta, Oakland, I think it was maybe Kansas City and Chicago. Did I get that right?
You got that right.
Jermaine, how you doing, man? Thank you for being on.
I'm doing great, man. Just enjoying this nice, light, mild weather out in Lawrence, Kansas.
So to let everybody know, Jermaine has 3 children, all playing Division I sports, and his daughter is a rower at the University of Tennessee, if I have that right. And then the sons, both sons, are playing football for the Kansas Jayhawks. And had a nice little win the other day, and Jermaine is doing the dad thing now, man, following those kids around.
That's what I do now. Is I'm following the kids. I was blessed, to play professional baseball for 14 years. So I was gone a long time. So now it's time for me to watch the kids and be dad. And I'm racking up miles on an airplane right now. So it's been fun, and I'm enjoying it. Times like this go by pretty quick. So got to enjoy it while you can.
Well, Jermaine, we're going to talk a little bit about when you were growing up, because I'm always interested, and I've had so many, amazing guests on my show, and I'm learning all about them. But when I first met you, we played golf out in at Bighorn out in Palm Springs, and the first thing I noticed is when you smack a golf ball, you hit it like 700 yards, man. It's like down the middle and straight away. So, have you always been a good golfer, or was that something after baseball?
No, it's something I picked up while I was playing. Been playing for about 20 years now. Usually, I kind of like to practice more in the off season while I was still playing baseball. But now I get out there two, 3 times a week, and it's definitely a grind. It reminds me of my playing days of you got to put the work in to get the results. So. I think, just being a hitter, there's some similarities to the golf swing with hitting, but definitely I try not to play too much during the season when I was playing, because it can mess up your baseball swing. So, but now, I love it. Gives me time away, it keeps me in getting those competitive juices flowing again, and just playing against my buddies and having a ball and just talking life. And it's been a blast.
Were you the guy, Jermaine, growing up? Because you're a big guy. You look like just a phenomenal athlete that probably played when you were little, maybe everything. But did you play everything, or was there a point where you said, "Man, I'm just going to lock in here with baseball"? Or how did that evolve for you?
Well, I think growing up, my parents never really pushed me in one direction of sports. My dad played basketball. He played in the NBA for 2 years. My mom ran track, and then I have a younger sister that's 4 years younger than me, and she was a basketball player. But growing up, I played baseball since I was 5 years old. Started playing football and basketball in like the 6th grade. Kind of picked that up, and then carried that all the way through high school. Just playing 3 sports. My dad always said that one sport makes you better for the next, the different movements. So I think, if you look at the better athletes in whatever sport, I guarantee they played multiple sports growing up. And I was always like 2 weeks late to the next sport in high school, because when the season ended. But the coaches knew I was pretty good at playing. I had offers to play football. I was a quarterback. I had offers to play basketball. High school, I was a forward, but shoot, now I'd be like a little point guard at 6'5". So, yeah, I like to tell parents, don't, put your kids into one sport and just think that's their sport, because they can get burnt out, and B, there's different movements, the team aspect is different in each sport too. So I think you'll learn more as a kid growing up playing multiple sports. And, you know, at some point you'll figure out which one's your best one. But until then, always play multiple sports.
Did you have somebody that sticks out in your mind when you go back when you were young, Jermaine, that just you would look back, and I'm sure you had multiple coaches, your parents, but who stood out for you as somebody that, you know, really kind of inspired you and kind of pushed you along the way and was kind of always there for you to help you and guide you and kind of mentor you a little bit as you were a young guy growing up, even in those high school years?
You know what? I mean, I hate this. It's always, you know, for me, it's always the same answer. It's my parents. I mean, it's my dad. You know, my mom was there, stay-at-home mom. She worked at the mall at the Wicks and Sticks candle shop, and my dad was a Muni bus driver in San Francisco for 30 years. So, you know, and he would have to drive that 45, 50 minutes to after work to get home and get to practice. He was my coach growing up until I got to high school. So I just think, and then my mom was there to make sure we got to practices and stuff like that, make sure all our homework, you know, typical mom stuff, mom duties. But for sure, growing up, it was my dad keeping us level-headed, my sister and I, and you know, making sure we stayed grounded and respected the game, respected our coaches, respected, you know, our elders. I mean, and then once I got to high school, um, I didn't really have somebody I really looked up to. I think looking up to somebody started when I got drafted with the Atlanta Braves. And I think a guy like David Justice and Marquise Grissom, those are two guys that stand out as two people that took me under their wing. I stayed with Marquise Grissom at his house for my rookie season, and then David Justice was kind of my mentor of, you know, taking me to lunch with him, taking me to dinners on the road. Kind of both of those guys kind of showed me the way of becoming how to be a professional on and off the field. So those are two guys of mine that I feel like really mentored me uh, and paved the way for me to become a big leaguer.
Was there a time, Jermaine, when you were maybe in your high school years where it started to click for you, where you in baseball, where you started to say, you know what, I might have a chance here. Like I got a chance to be a big leaguer. You know, I mean, every young kid dreams about it, but then there's usually a point, you know, in every sport where you start to say in your mind, like, you know what, this is starting to get to where I feel like I'm gaining ground on that dream. Did that happen for you at any point in time when you were young like that?
Yeah, I think growing up in Northern California, just outside the Bay Area, I think I think my 11th grade year and senior year in high school, I think when you get invited to like the area code games, which, you know, and you start playing on these travel ball clubs, you start getting invited to play in these travel ball clubs. Um, I think that's when I started to realize, you know, I'm pretty good at this. And then when you go and dominate with all the best players in Northern California, then you start to realize, hey, you may have something to this. I got drafted out of high school as a pitcher. I didn't sign. I decided, you know, in baseball, if you go to college, D1 college, you got to stay there for 3 years. So I felt like I needed to get bigger, stronger, faster, one more year, and then hopefully come out and get in the draft again. I was drafted out of high school, a high round pick, 40 something round. So that made my decision that much easier to just not get drafted. Uh, I had scholarship offers for college, but I kind of bet on myself. I said I'm gonna go to junior college for 1 year, do really well, which I did. Got drafted again, and I was in the big leagues in 2.5 years. So that 3.5 year program versus 3 years in college, then maybe another three. That's right there. That's 6 years. So I was in the big leagues within 3.5 years. So I kind of bet on myself, and it panned out for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but it worked for me.
Well, I think it obviously worked for you, and you had an amazing career. When you're in the minors, Jermaine, and I'm a Dodger nut. I follow them every night. I watch them. I've always watched them, for probably that last 30 years. But I watch them when we bring guys up. The Dodgers, they'll have guys up and down, and some young players like that. And when you're in the minors, like for you, when you were there, was there another point where you felt like, all right, I deserve to be up there? Like I'm waiting now because I feel like I'm good enough. I know it's part of the process in baseball, different than basketball and football. Minor leagues are they're part of the game. And there's so many guys because you've got, the rookie ball, double A, triple A. How was that for you playing minor league baseball before you really got your chance to get up and play in the bigs?
Well, and the minors is tough. I mean, a lot of bus rides, a lot of grinding, a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, bananas, apples in the clubhouse. So our good meals were like going to Denny's and eating the all you can eat breakfasts and stuff like that. But I think you really know it's your time when obviously I was dominating in A ball and rookie league. And then when you first get called up in the minor leagues to big league spring training, and they call you up to play in one of the games, and then you go in and you start getting hits, and then they keep continuing to invite you back every day, and you start opening up some eyes. And I just remember like a David Justice and Marquise Grissom, Terry Pendleton, those guys would come out of the game in like the fifth or sixth inning after their two at bats, and then the younger boys would go in there and pick them up on defense and play the rest of the game. And I remember to this day those guys hanging out in the dugout after they come out, because usually they'll just leave and go and get a workout in or something. Those guys were hanging around because they wanted to see myself and a couple other guys play, because we were the next guys in line. We were the next prospects in the minor leagues coming up. So obviously for me, playing in Atlanta with the Braves, they're just coming off winning the World Series in 1995. I understood that, having Marquise and David Justice prepare me that, it's a kid's game, but it is a business. So you're not only playing for the team you're on, you playing for every other team as well. There's scouts out there watching. Mm-hmm. So with those guys in front of me, I knew it was going to be tough to crack the lineup maybe in Atlanta. But, after my rookie season, I had a good year. I was in the rookie voting for Rookie of the Year. Played really well, played against your Dodgers in the playoffs, had a really good series against them. We beat them. And this is in 1996. So that next spring training in 97, they trade Marquise Grissom and David Justice. So I'm like, oh, it's my time, right? So, and then a couple weeks later, I ended up getting traded to Kansas City. That's when I understood, you know what, it really is a business. And just when you think, you're going to have the starting spot for one team, that's when you have to get traded somewhere. So, but you got to look at it in a positive way. Mm-hmm. You go to the next team and you play hard for them and try to win a championship with them.
Mm-hmm. Jermaine, I look back in basketball. I'd played at Alabama. I got drafted by Detroit, and I remember going in and we made through rookie camp, and then you're in the vet camp. But I just remember going in the locker room that first day. It was media day, and there was a jersey had my name on it, and I just remember like, wow. I mean, I was trying to act cool with everybody, but I was like excited, So how about you? You're going into clubhouse now, and you're in the bigs. And is there a part of you? I mean, I know you feel like you belong, but then there's another part of that little kid inside of you, like, wow, all right, here we go.
Oh yeah. It was. I remember my first day getting called up to Atlanta. It was an off day. I was in Richmond, Virginia. They called me up and said, "You're going to the big leagues." And then I drove from Richmond, Virginia, all the way to Atlanta, and just the next day, pulling into the Fulton County Stadium, I'm thinking, you just park out in the parking lot. You just find the door to walk in for the big leagues. No, you drive. in that stadium that you drive underneath the stadium in front of the locker room. You get out and somebody takes your car. I was like, what? I'm like, this is when you know you arrived. And of course, walking in the clubhouse, and much bigger clubhouse, everything is nice and neat. Like you said, your jerseys hanging up, your nameplates over your locker. Um, guys with hand and feet asking you all the everything in there. That's when you're like, you realize that you've made it. So it definitely was an eye opener. And, I went home that night and actually I hit a home run my first at bat too. So that made it even more
I remember
special.
that.
And going home, watching myself on Sports Center, you're like, oh, wow, I made it. Then you start thinking about all the hard work you put in, all the grinding in Little League, and all the dreams you've had just trying to become a big leaguer. And then you start to realize, all right, I'm here now. Now I got to stay. I got to work even harder to stay because somebody else is coming up behind you, to take your spot.
Jermaine, do you think that, and I've had some great guys on my show, but like Mo Williams played for me at Alabama, coached with me. I think Mo played 15 years in the NBA. But, one thing I always tell people is Mo, he learned how to be a pro and how to survive. As he got traded from team to team, he learned always how to survive, figure out what that coach wanted and what that organization wanted of him. And for you, as you got traded from team to team, now you're obviously a really good player, but longevity in professional sports, a lot of times it comes down to you learning really how to be a pro, take care of your body, learn what the organization wants. Did you feel that as you went through your career because you played a good long time?
Yeah, I think you learn that. I learned that more in Kansas City once I got to my third and fourth year in the big leagues. Now I'm getting established now and understanding my role as a player and what type of player I am, and just working on my craft, knowing I'm a guy that hits in the middle of the lineup, third, fourth, or fifth. And then you understand this is what teams want from you. I was a good defensive player in the outfield as well. So, that's you learn that. And, I'm fortunate enough to know Mo Williams. He's a good buddy of mine. You understand your role, where you are as a leader on the ball club. I wasn't that vocal, outspoken guy, but I led by the way I played. And if something needed to be said, I would say it. But you understand that this is your role, and this is what they brought you here to do, and you continue to work on your craft. Now the whole work out what you need for your body, the nutrients and all that. I think I learned that probably my seventh year in the big leagues, because now your body's starting to be a little achy, a little bit feeling a little different. You're not young anymore. So definitely now I wish what I knew now, though, this day and age, I wish I knew that back when I played, because, hey, I might have extended my career a few more years.
Jermaine, in pro sports, and I had Robert Ory, and we were talking, and I've known Robert forever. But as he went from Houston to the Lakers, spent a brief time with Phoenix, and then with the Spurs. But each organization is different. You won a World Series with Chicago. You were the MVP. But what do you think makes organizations separate themselves from others, as far as how their culture is, and just as they're different, and some organizations can win and some just can never win. They just never can. I mean, it's part of it. What do you think some of those characteristics are as you went from team to team in big league baseball?
Well, I think the teams that I was fortunate to have some good coaches, good managers throughout my career from whatever team I played on. I think when you have an organization or a ball club where from the top to bottom, obviously the owner has to have that winning mindset also. But the GMs, the assistant GMs, you know, sometimes if you have former players in those positions and they understand what guys are going through on a daily basis, what it takes to be a professional athlete from whatever sport you're playing, I think that makes it easier to put a team together. Um, Obviously, I've had some good managers that have played the game at the highest level, so they understood what players were going through. They knew when to give guys days off. They knew when to kick you in the butt. They just know the grind of being a professional. I mean, there's a lot to being a professional and just going out there and playing on a baseball field, a football field, or on an NBA court. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on for preparation before the games. So I just think those organizations that put a good minor league um, teams together have top to bottom um, speed, power, utility guys that can play multiple positions. You know, at the end of the day in baseball, you got to have a good pitching staff. You got to have a good bullpen. If you don't have that, it's going to be hard for you to win because if you can't ask your offense to score 4, 5, 6 runs every game. So um, I like to say that I think a good mix of young and old players and those journeymen on a ball club that have experience of being in the playoffs and stuff like that. Those are the teams that win day in and day out. I mean, for example, Houston, other than the whole scandal that they had, that's an organization that for over the last 15 years has did a pretty good job of putting a good product on the field year in and year out. Pretty impressive. But at the end of the day, it always boils down to money. So it's hard to win. And when you get a core group and you got a chance, you usually got a 2, 3, 4 year window to win. And after that, guys obviously get older and then the rebuilding starts again. So it's far and few between those organizations that can win consistently year in and year out.
2005, you were obviously probably, I don't know if you'd say it, but on paper was your best year, I think, one of them. Played awfully well. World Series champ, World Series MVP. You were a 2-time All-Star. But that team in 2005, what do you think looking back? Because I've played on really good teams. I played on some really talented teams that maybe didn't win as much. Then I coached teams that sometimes talent better. Those things kind of fluctuate. But I can look back and kind of say, okay, this is kind of why I think that team right there won. What do you think with that group that year? Obviously, you played phenomenally well and were the MVP, but talk about that team. What made that team so good?
Well, I think coming into spring training, I think we were picked probably 4th in our to win that, to be in that division. So we weren't even picked to be in the top 2 in that division. So I think Ozzie Guillen did a great job of keeping us together, and he prepared us the right way in spring training, the right mindset. I think from top to bottom, we had, like I talked about, we had speed at the top with Scott Podsednik. We had Tadahito Iguchi from Japan come in, which is a great guy to move runners over. He can bunt, play good defense at second base. Then you had the lineup of Paul Konerko, myself, Joe Creedy, and so on down the line. So I think we had a bunch of unselfish guys pulling on the same end of the rope. We knew not one guy could do it for us every night. We had some good guys. We had some guys that you want on your team, but you hate them when they're on the other team, like an AJ Przinsky, who you know, led our pitching staff at catcher. And obviously we had some dominating starters with Burley, John Garland, Freddie Garcia. And then we had a guy that kind of came out of nowhere, our closer, Bobby Jinks. He kind of showed up and was our closer out of nowhere. And you know, we came out of nowhere, like you said. I think we just had a bunch of unselfish guys, and to do what we did in the playoffs, go at 11-1 through the playoffs in the World Series, is something that I don't even know will be done again. I mean, but yeah, it was fun. And then I feel like we had a better year in 2006 to try to back it up, but fell short early in the playoffs. I actually feel like that might have been my best year in my career, 2006. But I was up for running of MVP all the way through until like beginning of September. I kind of went into like a little lull for a couple weeks, but yeah, I mean, I think we were just a unselfish team in 2005 with guys that are pulling on the same end of rope. We were a family off the field, went to dinners and stuff like that, and everybody felt like we were a family.
Why do you think at that point, Jermaine, in that part of your career, and you had an amazing career for so long, but in that stretch, looking back, and I'm a baseball guy, so I can remember some of all this, but like you're confident. I think in sports, confidence is so huge. It's so key. And sometimes, things begin to just start clicking. They just start clicking. And then for players, it's for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of different reasons. But you seemed in that stretch to have this amazing confidence level where I'm walking to the plate and I'm going to get some damage done here. There's going to get something done, maybe more than other parts of your career. Would I say that correctly or not?
Yeah, correct. You're correct. I think obviously in baseball, you got to have guys around you doing pretty good as well, because if you're the only one doing damage, then they're just apt to pitch around you and go to the next guy. So I was fortunate enough to have some guys around me doing some damage as well, getting on base. Obviously, very confident that season. Like you said, you start getting hits here and there, big hits. Confidence level goes up in basketball, as you see shots going in, keep feeding them, right? So I definitely was very confident. I knew mentally how to deal with, certain situations, just to keep my heart rate down. I kind of used like this little breathing technique to keep me calm before I got into the batter's box. But I think you got to have guys around you doing well. I mean, and if they're doing well, everybody feeds off each other, and I think that's how I got off to a hot start, kept it going right on through the playoffs in the World Series.
Do you feel like, Jermaine, sometimes as a hitter, you begin to, and I know part of baseball, and I'm not obviously, your knowledge of the game is 100 times more than most everybody, but where you start to see the pitches, I can see it come out of the hand a little bit. I can see the difference in the curves and the sliders and the two seams and four seams. You begin to see that pretty clearly. It's coming. I know what's coming to me. Did you feel that way?
Oh yeah, when you're locked in, you definitely the ball looks like a grapefruit coming up to you. Obviously, you game plan that pitcher. You know what he likes to do to you. You watch film. You know what he likes to do with runners in scoring position and all that kind of stuff. And when you're covering both sides of the plate, it's hard for anyone to pitch to you. I definitely was in a groove, and that's why Ozzie Guillen moved me from the fourth spot in the lineup to the third spot in the lineup. How hot I was. So I definitely once you're locked in, I always say those little 6 inches between your ears,
That's
what
it.
messes you up. When you
Mhm.
start thinking negative or having negative thoughts, that's probably going to happen to you. So um, you just got to go up and have a game plan, um, get your pitch to hit. And I think my most best at bat happened in the World Series in Game 4, where um, I was facing the closer for the Astros, and this guy he throws. Brad Lidge throws like 100, right? But he has a nasty slider. I told my the scouting report is to get on the fastball, first fastball you see, and don't get to the slider. So um, my hitting coach, I told my hitting coach before I went up to bat in the eighth inning, man on third base, I said, I'm going to sit on his slider. He goes, what? You're stupid if you do that. I go, I'm sitting on the slider. I got a base open. He ain't going to give me nothing to hit. If he gives me a fastball, it's for show, but he's going to go to the sliders. So I go up, and of course, first pitch was a fastball in for a strike. Next pitch was a slider away for a ball. So now I'm thinking, okay, here comes the get me over slider for a strike. And sure enough, he throws it. I get a base hit up the middle to basically what ended up being winning the World Series.
Mhm.
I get on first base. I'm pumped up. I'm fired up. And my hitting coach is over there doing this to me like I'm the man to be able to do that. But like I said, you have a game plan, you put it in play, you stick with it, and you believe that you can do it. And that was just a special year for all of us.
Were there any pitchers that you had in your era that were like, God, this dude right here, man, he just frustrating. You did well
Oh
pretty
yeah.
much against everybody, but was there one guy or two you said, God, I mean, this guy's he doesn't have my number, but boy, it's just a struggle for me with this guy. Who would that be?
Well, it happened to be a left-handed pitcher, and I fared pretty well off of left-handed pitchers for my career. So uh, Jamie Moyer, a guy that pitched in 5 decades, right? Pitched till he was 50, I think. Um, he just changes speeds, cuts it in, a changeup off of a changeup. I just could never figure him out. But I would get hits off of him in spring training. And he would look over at first base and be like, I'm letting you get hits now because you're not going to get them during the season. I just started laughing to the point to where I sent the bat over him and had him sign it in the season where I finally hit a home run off of him. And he signed it, a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and again.
Isn't that
So
great?
I'd say he was my pitcher that I hated to see.
That is too funny. All right. Well, I've enjoyed having you. But before we go, here's one I want you to think about. I want you to dive in, then we're going to get off of here. But you got 3 children that are all involved in sports.
Uh-huh.
And they play, obviously they've played since they were little, I'm sure, and they've probably played all the sports. And here you are, you and your wife, and you've got these 3 wonderful children coming up. But I've asked some people this along the way, and I'm always curious as to answers. The characteristics that you wanted your kids to have. And it doesn't mean they're always going to have them. You're trying your best as a parent at times, but the characteristics you wanted your kids to have and still have because they're still playing. But what would those be?
The characteristics, obviously, they got to have the work ethic. I believe in, you got to have work ethic in whatever it is that you do. I think respect. You got to respect your opponent, respect your coaches, respect your teammates, and I think be coachable. I mean, I think be coachable is one that no matter what age you are, I don't care if you're in youth baseball or if you're at the professional level, there's still something you can take away from a coach that will click with you and resonate with you to make your game better.
Those are
And
wonderful.
I'm fortunate enough to have three good kids. they're all different in their own little way. Um, they all have the work ethic. They all have the grind. They all have they're never going to get in trouble. Knock on wood.
Mhm.
But you know, my wife and I are just blessed to be able to have, 3 kids, make it to the D1 college level,
Mhm.
get scholarships. Um, Now after this, to go to the next level, now they got to know to work even harder
Mhm.
to do that. Now that
Mhm.
comes from within them
Mhm.
to put in that extra work and extra film study and all that stuff. And with my daughter, her goal, she's a sophomore now at Tennessee. Her goal is to be at the Olympics in LA. So
Mhm.
hopefully she's going to continue to focus on that and keep going, and we'll see.
Mm. Well, I know that in getting to know you, Jermaine, and I'm sure your wife as well, you guys have been great role models for your kids. And we don't even realize at times how much they're really watching and watching you guys
Yeah.
and learning from you and learning from your past. And I'm sure with your wife as well. So, I hope they can reach whatever dreams they have. I hope they can get there. And Jermaine, you've had a great career, obviously, and World Series champion, MVP, All Star. But as I've gotten to know you, you're a better person, and that's what I care about too. So thank you for being on, man. This has been fun, and I know you got a plane to
All
catch,
right.
so get to
Yep.
it, man. But thank you so much, Jermaine.
All right. I appreciate you having me, Mark, and look forward to seeing you somewhere down the road.
You will. All right, Jermaine. Talk to you. Thank you.
All right.